It's Woman Crush Wednesday, where we review books published by women. And what better way to kick this series off than with the works of Toni Morrison? If there was ever a book that pulled me in and kept me captive to its ebbs and flows, Morrison's 1987 Beloved did exactly that. I'll admit, this book took me a couple of weeks to finish. It was too heavy for me to leisurely consume, yet the depths of the story worked like a whirlpool. I immediately felt absorbed by Toni's writing and quickly got lost in that haunted house at 124 Bluestone Road. The story takes place in the 1870s and opens with our main character, Setha, a formerly enslaved woman who lives at 124, and initially we're told 124 is spiteful. This spite is caused by a ghost of one of Setha's daughters, who she was forced to kill to prevent her being sold into slavery. Since then, the child's ghost haunted and controlled the house, ultimately driving away Setha's two sons, and slowly, by way of much grief, killing Setha's mother-in-law, baby Suggs. All who's left is Setha and her teenage daughter, Denver. During this time, Paul D., a former slave from the same plantation, visits Setha and successfully drives out the ghost. Paul D. moves in, and though Setha accepts his company, her daughter Denver isn't too fond of Paul D. for casting out the ghost of her sister. Denver is a very lonely girl in this novel, with all of her relatives leaving or dying off. Growing up in a home with the company of a ghost was Denver's only familiar bond outside of her mother. 124 was so full of strong feelings, perhaps she was oblivious to the loss of anything at all. In an effort to get things feeling more like a family, Paul D. takes Setha and Denver out to the local carnival. Coming home from the festivities, the family finds a young, disheveled woman off the side of the road near 124. They nurse her inside the home, and Denver specifically tends to her needs. The young woman's name is Beloved, the same name of the daughter Setha had to kill all those years ago. It's not so evident at first, but then it is. And what I mean is Toni Morrison blends character dialogue and inner monologue so well. Characters will go from deep introspective thought about the history battling slavery to conversations filled with the effects from that history. Setha in particular, having to live with the history of fleeing slavery and being forced to kill your own daughter, lived in every area of her life. At this time, Beloved is starting to feel better from the care by Denver and Setha, yet she begins to favor Setha more and more, causing Denver to become relatively frustrated. Paul D. was already suspicious of Beloved, but she would ultimately get him removed out of 124. Beloved continues to get closer to Setha, slowly consuming her time and energy. Freeing yourself was one thing. Claiming ownership of that freed self was another. 124 was loud. During this time, Paul D. has all but been removed from the picture. Beloved has completely wrapped Setha under her control, resulting in Setha losing her job and staying at home. Denver, who's been slowly building up the courage for independence, has gone out and sought work to put food on the table. It was at this point in the book that all three women, Setha, Denver, and Beloved, have deep inner monologues about their respective relationships to each other. Setha continues to be wrapped in the spell of Beloved, both explaining and reliving the event in her mind. She goes on to tell herself, "My love was tough and she back now. I knew she would be. Paul D. ran her off, so she had no choice but to come back to me in the flesh. I bet you baby Suggs on the other side helped. I won't never let her go. I'll explain to her, even though I don't have to, why I did it. How if I hadn't killed her, she would have died, and that is something I could not bear to happen to hear." Denver too deals with her own trauma by her observations of Setha and Beloved's relationships. "I love my mother, but I know she killed one of her own daughters, and tender as she is with me, I'm scared of her because of it. All the time, I'm afraid that the thing that happened that made it all right for my mother to kill my sister could happen again." With Beloved, her inner monologue simply states, "Setha is the face that I found and lost in the water under the bridge. I will not lose her again." 124 was quiet. Setha has now turned all of her attention to Beloved. Denver's frustration has now moved on to the forefront of her mind. They mended the plates, swept the salt, and little by little it dawned on Denver that if Setha didn't wake up one morning and pick up a knife, Beloved might. Frightened as she was by the thing in Setha that could come out, it shamed her to see her mother serving a girl not much older than herself. Looking to free herself and her mother from the spiritual grip of Beloved, Denver seeks the help of the community, bringing 30 women to the front yard of 124. In addition to this, the white landlord of 124 visits to offer Denver a job. Setha, reliving trauma, attacks the landlord, and the women of the community hold her off. Beloved disappears, and things begin to smooth out. Paul D. returns to Setha, instilling a level of self-confidence and assurance. Denver becomes more active in the community, and the community in general gains a climate of peace. Beloved speaks to the dynamics of generational trauma, the importance of history, and our need for community healing. A classic novel and winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. Like if you enjoyed this segment, share if it could benefit others, subscribe for more book-related content. Till then, stay in the book or stay out the way.